Okay, what's up, everyone? Jeremy Majors here with Majors Academy Dog Training out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and this is Dog Behavior Q&A, episode 140. And we are live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, as always, answering your questions to the best of my ability, of course, taking from my experience and stuff like that. So all shows are recorded to iTunes. So if you want to just listen to me and not see me, then you can turn to iTunes. But if you want to see me, all shows are recorded on every platform that I mentioned. All right. Well, let's get started. Just a reminder, all of you guys can ask as many questions as you like. Or if you would like a topic for me to talk about, go ahead and do that as well. That's fine. I'm not shy. Not shy about any opinions that I have. I think I've been doing this long enough to where at least all of my opinions can provoke a conversation in the right direction, if that makes sense. All right, let's get started. All right, here we go. My dog barks at every dog she sees while walking, which makes the other dogs nervous. However, when she's off the leash and meeting dogs at the park, she's fine. How can I help alleviate this? Same with trucks and motorcycles while on walks as well. Okay, so I'd first quickly make sure that you are trying or not being opposed to working with that dog alone. Dogs just leash reactive or leash fearful on leash. That means you just have to add more structure to your walk. And what I mean by structure is walking your dog loose leash in a heel beside you, which means its collar is parallel to your thigh and the leash is loose. That's the key. And so I have some YouTube videos that you can check out on how to achieve that. It would be much too long for me to explain on how to break it down. But there are YouTube videos that I have that will explain how to get a loose leash walk. It's very important if you have a dog that is reactive on leash. But I would go ahead and work that dog alone, and then maybe bring your other dogs back to the pack as well. Okay. But take control of the dog over the walk. That's the first thing. All right. Let's keep it moving. Boarding a 7-month-old coonhound who is possessive with food and toys. Pet Convincer is working pretty good, but do I take toys away? I feed her in the kennel, and my dogs know to stay away. When I'm introducing a dog to my pack, then I am temporarily going to pick up toys and bones until they get to know each other. I will allow them to. I won't allow them to have bones and toys on the floor and stuff because it can obviously start a fight, and you'll be backtracking as far as getting them to get along again because they've already would have been in a fight or a scuffle or an argument. So you want to try to avoid that as much as possible, not try and backtrack at all. And so yeah, I'd pick up the toys and the bones until they get to know each other more. All right. Thanks for your question. Okay, let's keep it moving. All right. I have two elderly dogs. They are aging together. When the time comes to put one down, but the other dog isn't quite there, is it better to put them both down or let them suffer with grief for the loss of the other one? Um, I would not. I mean, the grief is going to be tough, I guess, but I wouldn't put my second dog down unless I don't know. That's a tough question, but my first reaction would be not to put a dog down simply because it's going to grieve. You may not know how good or bad or what level they're going to grieve. You may not know that, so I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would say that you can prepare your dog that is going to live longer by starting to. This is gonna be tough, but start to do things with them separately. Because the problem with some dogs that they have is they do grow such an attachment to uh, their housemates, and we don't really spend enough time with them alone. And and so they do take it very tough when someone in the pack is has to be put down. You know what I mean? So so you could start doing things with that one dog separately to try and build its independence from the other dog to make sure that maybe the grieving will be a little bit easier to handle. So that's what I got. Okay. Next question. Michelle says, what is the best way to handle situation if someone, my mom, wants to bring their dog to your house? I have three dogs and put my dogs on their place when she comes over with her dog who is on leash. Her dog is 6-month-old Havanese that is a hyper little pup. So if your mom brings that hyper little pup to your house, I would say keep the pup on leash, and then um, until things settle down a little bit, and then even after that, I would allow the dog to drag a leash. I would allow the Havanese to drag a leash around the house. Um, I would first maybe introduce all of them to that puppy outside. You know what I mean? Um, Not inside. Maybe a little bit chaotic. So I'd introduce your dog, um, or introduce the Havanese outside, and keep the Havanese on leash, as to not overwhelm the other three dogs. Does that make sense? All right, next question. All right, this question is for Tiffany. We just got a new foster who is very underweight and a terrible case of mange. When we found due to his condition, he was quarantined and is working on learning how to dog. He is food aggressive with his dish due to the lack of food. He doesn't bite, but he does start to growl and latch on to the dish. Um, he's not actually tried to bite a person, but would lash out at another dog. It's something we're working on. I'm just curious, what method or methods do you find work best for working through this? Okay. So, um, let's see. I would give that foster some time, at least 3 weeks, without having to work on anything. The dog needs to feel comfortable with you and feel safe that you're not going to mess with his food. If the dog doesn't know you and food aggressive, the dog is much more likely to be food aggressive. So I would wait until the dog is familiar with you, and that doesn't mean he allows you to pet him. That doesn't mean he's good with you. He's not good with you around food if he's food aggressive, because a new dog that's food aggressive um, most likely means that it doesn't trust you. A dog that knows you, that you've kept for a while and is food aggressive because he was being a punk and a brat. But a dog that doesn't know you and and is food aggressive may just need some time to get comfortable with you. So I wouldn't try and work through anything. I would allow them to eat in a crate, in a and leave the dog alone. That's what I would do. But so that's just what I'm telling you from what you've described on this question. Feel free to give me more information, and I can give you a better answer or more solutions. But for the moment, if the dog is new to you, which it sounds like it's new to you, let the dog get comfortable with you before you start working on things, you know, that intimate. Because food, obviously, you said, is something that the dog really cares about. But it's not going to, if it doesn't know you, it's not going to just say, hey, you can touch my food. So that's that. But thank you for your question, and feel free to ask another one. Okay. Next question. Christy says, what is the best way to get a sharper, faster down? My shepherd is only 1.5 years old, but lays down slowly and methodically like an old man. Like he obviously doesn't want to do it. There are no joint pain issues, and he pops up into a sit from down. If the dog really likes a toy, then you can put it in front of his nose and then quickly put it down. You know what I mean? If the dog loves food, you can do the same with a treat. Those two things usually work. So you can put it in front of his nose and then kind of, maybe you can even tease it with him a little bit, like put it in front of his nose, wiggle it a little bit, get him excited. And then you put it down on the ground to where, really quickly to where he wants to follow it down. And then you say down as the ball or treat or your hand hits the ground. So try that. See if it works. Okay. Next question. Feel free to ask as many questions as you like, guys. This isn't just a one question thingamajig. All right. How can I keep my 90-pound pit from jumping on people as well as whining when he's out by himself? Okay. So, okay. So let's address the first part, jumping on people. When your pit bull is jumping on people, or when your pit bull sees other people, put the pit bull on leash, put the dog on leash, and tell people to ignore him until he's calm. When he's calm, he can be interacted with, or he can go interact, but he can't interact when he's hyper. That's going to cause him to jump. And people can't interact when they first see him. That's going to cause them to jump. So you have to control the situation, the people, and control the dog. first 10 minutes. Well, maybe it doesn't even take that long. But make sure the dog's being pet when it's calm, and make sure the dog is only interacting when he's calm. Okay, and then letting out, jumping on people as well as whining when he's out by himself. So you can do one of two things, or a little bit of both. But you can let the dog out and wait until he stops whining. So you can wait him out, or you can correct him somehow, some way, give him a consequence, and tell him that whining is, you should be quiet and enjoy the outdoors. Of course, right now it's really cold outside, so it's probably warranted, but yeah. The excitement idea sounds good. He has more play drive than anything. Yes, and use that toy. Use that toy. Use that favorite toy. That's probably the best bet. I mean, there's no other way but to bribe. You're not going to force him to quickly down. And if you do, and you can make him happy doing it, I'm going to pay you to teach me how you do it. Because that'll take some good training. Okay, having issues with puppy jumping on people on and off leash. On leash is no tension when we pass other dogs and people, but when we approach / greet people, we know it's obnoxious. I ask for him to be ignored and put him in a sit. He is relentless. Probably is the most on leash. So here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to buy a vest for him and say no petting, or buy one of those patches that say no petting, and give him a break from being pet for a while. If you are waiting for calmness and he still acts like a fool, then you're not waiting long enough, or you just shouldn't let it happen at all. Give your puppy a break from being interacted with. If he can't handle it, don't let him have it. He needs a break. So I would, again, buy a vest so people don't even think that it's okay to do so. Pet them. Buy a vest that says no petting or in training, and then bring him around people so people think he's sort of like a dog that's in training or working, and they won't pet him. But he needs a break from being pet. That's what that's saying. Listen, guys, just because you don't let everyone pet your dog doesn't mean your dog's going to be not social. Socializing doesn't mean everyone petting your dog. That's not what socialization is. It's not what it should be. Because you could very well do the opposite. Any intelligent dog is going to know how to get what it wants. Any intelligent dog is going to be aware that there are people and or dogs that could cause them harm. That's just intelligence. When dogs are reactive, they are intelligent because part of being intelligent is knowing what is out there that could possibly cause them harm. And if they have an owner that is naive, ignorant, and blind to what can happen, then they are going to be extra reactive because the owner doesn't know how to advocate for them, doesn't know how to step up for them. So they're going to step up for themselves. And so smart dogs, again, know how to um, self-preserve because they have to. So most of the dogs that come to me that are very um, aggressive, they are also intelligent because they are aware of the real world, and they've had a couple bad experiences, and they have a naive owner. So part of the deal is to help the owner become aware and then become proactive for the dog's sake. So the dog says, I don't have to be so on edge because my owner's now got my back. Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right. Got some questions. Question from Savannah. My foster dog got spooked in his sleep and bit a child. Oh, my Lord. Is there any way to prevent that from happening again besides the obvious ways, such as not having kids in the home, not spooking him, etc.? Um, Not spooking him is not very obvious. It's not going to be very predictable. One of the ways that you can prevent that is when kids are around, you put them up, put them in a crate, put them somewhere. Because you should never have a dog inside your house that thinks it's okay to bite children. Because the dog's going to be put down and the child's going to be, I mean, it's not cool. So, here's the other thing. This isn't the obvious way. Well, maybe it's obvious, but it's the tougher route. Learn ways on how to get the dog to do just that, not think it's okay to bite children. That's the first thing I would do if you want that dog to be out with children. But if you don't want to learn that, then you should put the dog away, period. All right. Thanks for your question. Okay. My dog is 3 years old and likes to protect me. I don't think that she would hurt anyone, but her growl is so vicious. When my other dogs come up to me or even looks at me, she freaks out. Any suggestions? The dog's not protecting you because the dogs know you. I mean, she knows the other dogs. So the dog is just being possessive of you, not being protective of you. What does it got to protect you from? The other dogs aren't going to cause you harm. So what is there protecting? She's not protecting. She's just being a brat. So she should have get a consequence for freaking out. And then you should push her away. You should want to gain the ability when you have when you have a pack, you should gain the ability to pet one dog at a time. And there can be no jealousy whatsoever. What's up, Elias? And so your house, your rules, you're the leader. No freaking out by any dogs. Bottom line. All right. This one is kind of gross. My other pup is 16 years old. He has recently started pooping in the house and has been busted eating it a time or two. What do I do about this? Go see a vet. I don't know. That's sort of out of my suggestion. Seems like the dog is getting older. Ask your vet about the appetite and or the food that it's eating, stuff like that. But maybe I would go see a vet first before I would try and pin it down as something behavioral, It can be a lack of nutrients, but it also can be it can also be the dog getting really old. But for young dogs, sure. Yeah, the foods out there today suck. Okay. You're very welcome. All right. Let's keep it moving. Okay. My dog has been absolutely amazing from all the advice you give me. But how long does it take for a male to kick their leg up to pee? Seems like my dog gets lower and lower to the ground. I walk it at least 3 times a day. So he's not just holding the pee all day. Um, how long does it take to keep? How long does it take a male to kick their leg up to pee? Oh, that depends on the dog. Some dogs, most dogs do it. Some dogs don't at all. It can depend on how dominant the dog is. It can depend on how submissive the dog is. The more dominant, the higher the leg hike. So, yeah. You have a vest, put it on. You have a vest. I've got a German Shepherd that I have to put a vest on. Um, yeah, if you guys are all dealing with a dog who is reactive on leash, when it comes to people, don't let people touch your dog. You have maybe over socialized your dog. That's what that means. You have made people in your dog's eyes um, uncomfortable. So people are uncomfortable to your dog when people approach. Again, socializing doesn't mean you meet every person and let everybody pet your dog. Um, sure, it makes you feel good, maybe makes the puppy feel good, but there should be a little bit of control there. There should be a little bit of discipline there, and not just puppy runs up, puppy jumps, puppy gets pet. You're just teaching the dog that jumping is okay. Over and over and over again, as the dog gets older, the dog will decide if it can like it or not, too. So sometimes, again, the problem isn't just only that you're allowing everyone to pet the dog, but it's also the mindset that the dog has about its overall existence. And that is, I can do what I want, and I can be pet by who I want. And if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to bark, bite, jump to get you away. So overall, that's a mindset of a dog who doesn't have enough boundaries in the house. Okay, Tiffany says, thanks for a response. We've had him for over a week and currently is fed separate. We just have tested the waters a couple of times while he's been eating to see as he has showed the same in his previous foster home as well. We will give him time yet before we work on anything. I just want to be the best possible pup we can get him to be before he goes to his forever home. Hey, I get it. You got to be able to know your dog for sure. It's part of the job. But if he's come from that bad of a situation, let the dog, don't put any pressure on the dog. Food is a resource. And no matter what animal you are, you will fight for food, especially if you've had a hard time obtaining it at one point. People who have an abundance of food and dogs who have always had food, no, there's no need to get snarky for food. But to those who have not had it, and it's, I mean, some dogs who have had it are still going to be, but it is a natural thing for a dog to become to to be food, to care about food, and sometimes to be food aggressive. Some food aggressive dogs make very good hunters, for example. Some food aggressive dogs make very good police dogs. And again, the situation where you are, where you're headed on, I mean, the situation with you're dealing with is, if it's food aggression coming from fear, then you never should push or correct or test. You should just let breathe. It might just go away. If the dog knows it has a meal every day, dog might just go away. I mean, the dog aggression, excuse me, the food aggression might just go away. I will never be tough on a fearful dog. I'll be tough on a brat dog, but I will never be tough on a fearful dog. Fearful dog just needs time. That's all. But fearful dogs can also become brats very quickly. Sonny lives to eat. Yes, he does. So does my dog Tobias. Doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter how much you feed him. He'll still eat until he chokes. Okay. Haha. More dominant equal higher leg lift. So that's why my boy lifts his leg so high over his back. He loses his balance sometimes. Yes. The higher the scent, the more of a threat to the dog, to the rest of the dogs. So when that next dog or when another dog smells and sees how high it is, because size matters. So dominant dogs try and get that thing way up. And very dominant females will lift a leg too. Don't be fooled. There are some real dominant females out there. And they lift their legs just like males. What do you suggest consequence be for aggressive growl? Just push her away. Say something, squirt her with a bottle or a bottle. I'd try the latter first, and then push her away. Maybe say something, all of it, whatever. Yeah, push her away. You know what I mean? That's fine. She doesn't get what she wants whenever she wants because she acts like a brat. You know? So let her deal with you petting other dogs and she not be able to, you know. All right. My 2-year-old lab has shown some signs of fear of people when entering a new surrounding outside of the house. Went to the vet. Tech walked in and cowered and seemed very uncomfortable with this new human. Looked scared. I did not encourage this behavior. Walked away from him. No positive reinforcement from me. But why? He had never been scared before of people. He's just in a home with 2 adults, so not a lot of new interactions. So I must need to get him out in new situations more. But what should be my response when he shows fear to new people outside of my house? If someone comes in my house, he's fine. Well, 2 things. You could get more trust from him by being tougher on him in the house which will pay dividends when it comes to the environment. The environment is always secondary to the relationship you can have with your dog. If you always meet the dog where they are, but that takes a little bit of work because you have to sort of think about what choices they can freely make in the house that could possibly um, become boundaries that would help build a better dialogue when you're out in public. Out in public just means this is a new situation and I'm questioning the situation. Well, I want my dogs to get their questions answered from me first. So how well does the dog listen is very important. I tell my clients, you can take all of the obedience commands anywhere and everywhere. It doesn't matter about the environment more so than if the dog is listening to you. When I say down, that means down in the car, at the vet, in the house, at the park. Down means down. Sit means sit. Come means come, no matter where we are. And if you can have that level of obedience, then your dog will trust you a little bit more when it comes to situations they haven't been in or they've rarely been in. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is controlling the environment as best you can. And many vets don't know how to approach a nervous dog. And so you may have to educate your vet on how to approach a nervous dog. Your vet should not try to make friends with your dog. Vets think when you make friends with a dog, then you can touch the dog. But the dog doesn't need to be friends with you. The dog just needs to have respect for you. And I think respect goes out the window when the vet, in a dog's eyes, becomes too obtrusive. So most vets come in, they may try and give a treat. They may show the back of their hand. They may turn around, and I've seen some goofy stuff that vets do to try and make friends. But I would leave the dog alone. I would let the vet, I would let the dog, I would keep the dog in a sit first and foremost, and I would talk to the vet as if the dog wasn't there, and I would encourage the vet to do the same. And then if the dog showed interest, like doing this, that's interest, then maybe allow the dog to go to the vet. And then even then, petting isn't necessary. People think that when you touch a dog, that the dog is okay with you. And that's not the case, because a lot of dogs still bite after they let you pet them. Sometimes they'll let you pet them, but they don't really want you petting them. They're just dealing with it until you turn your back, and then they bite you in the ass. So again, here'd be my whole approach if I was a vet. I'd walk into the room. I would not acknowledge the dog. I mean, when people drop their aggressive dogs off at my place, they are often surprised that their dog doesn't react to me. And that's because at the end of the day, dogs just don't want you to say, "Ooh, hi, buddy. How are you? Can I pet you?" Some dogs aren't cool with that. They're just not. But they can be okay with someone who actually mutually respects them and just lays back, ignores them, and allows them to maybe come up and sniff them. So That was a lot. I know. I'm sorry. Um, but that's about it. Dog's getting older. Um, so I would say though the former long answer would be the better one, the better way, because environment is secondary to the relationship, the dialogue that you can build with your dog. But you will, but to optimize both scenarios, you will have to control the dog and best you can control the environment. All right. Thank you for your question. Feel free to ask another. Excuse me. I've always let my boy investigate, look, sniff anytime there's been something new that he's shown the slightest bit of hesitancy, fear around. I thought I was doing the right thing because as a result, he's very solid temperament, confident, etc. But now he thinks he controls the walk, tries to stop and sniff whenever he feels free. Did I do it wrong? No, not entirely. Listen, there's got to be a little bit of control from you from the get go. Because yes, you want him to get used to the environment, but through your guidance, you're holding the dog's hand and you're saying this is okay. And they should be saying, is this okay? Not not being able to decide for themselves if it's okay or not. Because that way dogs can become fearful of um, lawnmowers, snow blowers, brooms, vacuums, things like that. And so, like I said before, bottom line, if the dog can listen to you on some level, you can work them through a lot of issues, a lot of challenges. But they've got to be able to, again, you got to be able to get the dog to think just a little bit. How about this? When you introduce them to, so that situation, your situation that you're talking about, I would have gotten my dog to sit first, right? For about 30 seconds and then let him go sniff. Because then that thing that he goes and sniffs means uh a little bit less um a little bit less hey Liz, your food's in my truck. Okay. Um so anyway, yeah, it needs to be it will mean a little bit less if you can sort of, you know, step in and intervene before the dog. For example, I have a very reactive dog. So much so that the dog was really growling at a stuffed dog today. And um, so the dog wanted to try and pull towards the stuffed dog. And I put the dog in a sit. And then I let the dog go investigate the stuffed dog. And and after that, it was pretty good. So you did good on exposing your dog to a ton of things. Um, but I would have added just a little bit of, hey, pause for a second, buddy. I'm going to show you. Let me show you that it's okay before I let you investigate that it's okay. As opposed to, you know, letting the dog investigate and then something happening. You could potentially then be backtracking if something stupid happens. You know what I mean? So let me show you that things are okay. Let me show you the control, sit, and then allow the investigation. All right. Okay. Next question. Oh, it's not a question. Helpful. Thank you. I've been a bit too forgiving with him behavior lately, and he's acting like a teenager at times, pushing limits. I need to get back on the sit back bandwagon. He's cute, but not the boss. There you go. Yeah, the cuteness always seems to be the, let's call it the boundary killer. Cuteness is the boundary killer for a lot of people. I get it. It's not that easy. Easier said than done. All right, couple more questions if we have them. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, yeah. When is it appropriate to use an e-collar on a young dog? What age? Um, well, if you're really savvy with it, it's hard to answer. Depends on the intelligence of the puppy. Um, I mean, there's other ways to get anything that a puppy is doing, solved without an e-collar though. So I would probably exhaust those ways before I do so because, yeah, for the sake of maybe doing something horribly wrong. Depends on the dog, man. What kind of dog it is. How tough the dog is, which just means some dogs are very sensitive and you could really, scar the sensitive dog with the wrong tools too early. So the dog you don't could be just as damaging as any collar or the pet convincer or a water bottle. The water bottle could be damaging to a very sensitive dog. The kind of dogs who are like the toughest to deal with are the sensitive, big, cute, irritable dogs. They're sensitive, but they're pushy and they're irritable. And then they're charming and intelligent. Like those dogs are very difficult to deal with. But that sounds like people are hard to deal with when they're those things as well. Too smart for your own good. It kind of holds true for a lot of dogs. So anyway, I'll answer one more question, guys. If you have any last questions, please feel free to drop them right now. I will answer them. Otherwise, let's see. I'll probably answer one more in my email. Okay. All right, here we go. One last question. How do you deal with clients who have human aggressive dogs that wants to do a board and train? Do you have the client condition with the muzzle? How does the dog eat during the board and train? Do you remove the muzzle? So I don't really work with muzzles. And so I've developed ways not to get bit without muzzles. So I don't really use them. But I would say before the board and train, have the dog come and meet with you, and I'm hesitant on saying meeting because I don't mean meeting you by you petting him or even paying any attention to him. He should just spend time around you a couple of times, and if he seems calm and friendly, then maybe he can interact with you. But that would probably help with not having to muzzle him. So I can't give you an answer about anything to do with a muzzle because I don't really work with them. But but yeah, that would help. And also, you can give the owners a couple of things to do that would help the dog listen better around you. Because again, ultimately, it's up to the owners to get the dog to like or to deal with or to just not be aggressive with people. And so if they are equipped with skills, then the dog becomes more at ease around whatever makes it nervous. So that's what those first two meetings could do too, along with the dog getting used to you. You could give them some skills because I always tell people the better your dog is by the time it gets to me, the further I can take the dog when it does get to me. Okay. All right, you guys, that's going to be enough for today. We'll be here next Thursday. Thank you guys. Give me a like, give me a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, comment, do what you want. Merry Christmas if I don't see you next Thursday. Is next Thursday Christmas? Okay, never mind. See you next Thursday. Bye.